Hey witches, I wanted to have a little chat about overwhelm and beginner or baby witches. And I just want to say, first of all, it's completely understandable, normal to feel overwhelmed when you take the leap from witchy to witch, right? And we've been talking a lot about this in our coven because there are a lot of beginner and baby witches in there. And I feel it's one of my life purposes to educate baby witches and beginner witches and get them to feel comfortable and empowered to be in their witchy self, right? And so the overwhelm, I think, comes from a few things. A lot of us, even if we didn't grow up religious, grew up in a society that assumes that you understand the Abrahamic religions and that you follow the moral codes and the history of that. They're embedded in the society. So even if you didn't grow up religious, those religions, right, they're overtones of society. And you kind of unplug from that when you decide to become a witch. You like yank that cord. And then you go into this whole different system that is not patriarchal. It's not, you do this or God will smite thee, right? It's a very different place. And for a lot of people, that's what's appealing, right? It's freeing, but sometimes it's so freeing that it can become overwhelming because it's, you're not sure what's right. And the other thing I think that becomes overwhelming is a lot of baby witches or beginner witches don't want to seem phony or appear phony. They don't want to say I'm a witch and then, maybe meet a person who's been a witch longer and they say, well, what about this, this, and this? They don't know how to answer that question. So it keeps them from wearing the label proudly. And I think another thing that causes overwhelm is the abundance of choice on this path, right? It's part of what it's appealing is you can be there's so many different types of witches, so many different paths in witchcraft, but it's an overwhelming choice for a lot of us. So we've just been kind of discussing in our coven about this overwhelm. And I think the first thing is to recognize it, to accept it, to not beat yourself up for it or feel shame for it, because I think it's very, very normal. And then from there, it's, deciding, well, what is it that I really want to know? And we like to kind of build a foundation. And part of our coven, everyone gets they get free entrance into this beginner's witch class that I have on Udemy. And the way I teach that is we learn the 4 elements, and we learn circle protection, we learn a basic candle spell, and then we kind of move from there. Because I think for a lot of us, it's exciting, but it's like, well, where do I start? And some of the books just assume that you know stuff. So you may have picked up a book and it's like, well, I don't know what that means. And I remember that. I was 13 when I became a witch, and I was like, I had to, there's no looking it up on the internet, right? So it's like, I have to go to Borders and find the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft that they had that I didn't have and look it up. Well, what does that mean? Or what's this herb? And so I just want you to know it's normal. Don't believe everything you see on the internet or witch talk, and allow yourself the grace. You're not going to become an expert tomorrow, right? You're not going to be suddenly wake up and be like, I know everything about witchcraft, because I've been on this path a long time and I assure you I don't know everything about witchcraft. And then allow yourself some beginner's books. There's no shame in some simple beginner's books. There's even some really great children's books and books geared towards teens that are really simple. And again, no shame, because you are a baby witch, right? You're a beginner witch. No matter how old you are, those books are helpful. So I hope this helps.